You know, Heraclitus, he said, you can't step into the same river twice because the river flows, and when you step in the second time, you'll be in different water than you were in the first time. Heraclitus said, everything is in flux. I'm Dr. Chris McCord, professor of philosophy at Kirkwood Community College, and this is Deepest Flux.
Shorty hit the dance floor, such a public place. She should've washed her hands more than she touched her face. She take a cruise to Italy, she's over 65. She's smoking, but her mask is not N95. Shorty got corona.
Before we begin, I'd like to thank our underwriters. First, Corona. Because without Corona, there would be no podcast. And by Kirkwood Community College. Start here and go anywhere. Anywhere but Kirkwood Community College, because I don't want to get your coronavirus. Okay, now we're ready to start. Fyodor Dostoevsky was a Russian novelist, and he knew suffering. Dostoevsky, because he said things about the government that they didn't approve of, he was taken to what was really an internment camp, sentenced to hard labor in Siberia. Dostoevsky worked for many years. Finally, one morning, the guards came and took him, and they put him in front of a wall and a firing squad. The military men raised their rifles. But at the last minute, the general informed Dostoevsky that he wasn't really being shot. He was free to go. I guess this is just a way that a government can make its people afraid to show any kind of dissent. You scare the hell out of them, then they don't complain anymore. If you think about it, it's a little like what we're going through now. We're starting to suffer, right? Coronavirus, it'll take the lives of thousands. Not exactly a pleasant time. In his work, Brothers Karamazov, Dostoevsky tells the story of two brothers. I think they're going to clean their father's estate because he's making his will and preparing for his last moments. One of the brothers, Ivan, is having a crisis of faith. But the other brother, Alosha, he's a pious and holy man. So they have a little discussion, and in the discussion, Ivan tells a story. Seems there was a general who kept hounds. The general owned quite a bit of land, and the peasants who lived around him were poor, so the general acted like he owned them, the peasants. Well, one day, a little boy, one of the peasants, was playing with the general's dog, and he threw a stone and he hurt the dog's paw. Next day, the general finds out about it. He says, "Who hurt my dog's paw?" Little boy. General says, "Take him." General's men take the little boy off, and he spends the night in a cage. Next morning, they strip him naked. The general brings him out in front of everyone and says, "Go!" Little boy runs. And the hounds are released. The hounds rip the little boy to pieces while his mother watches. Ivan says he just has lost his faith. Ivan says, he says that if God gave him a ticket to heaven, he wouldn't accept that ticket on the condition of one poor little child suffering, of one poor little child beating his or her breast. Now, what's funny, you probably are thinking, well, Dostoevsky must have been an atheist. That's not true. He was a Christian philosopher, but he wanted to get into the problem of evil. And a colleague of mine, some of you may take, like Mark McCrary for philosophy class, he told me something interesting. He said that after Dostoevsky wrote Brothers Karamazov, he worried that he had done too good a job, that he might have made the case against God's existence a little bit too well. It's an interesting thought, huh? So, what's happened to you? Have you lost a family member or a loved one or a good friend? Have you had cancer, or do you know someone who's had cancer? Do you have a grandma who's infected with coronavirus? What's in your wallet? Not so funny, is it? But such is life. Get used to it. That's my advice. Get used to it. Nice weather we're having today, though. It's really pretty out. Problem of evil goes like this. God's all powerful and all knowing and all good. And God's powerful enough God. Then God's powerful enough to stop evil. If God's all-knowing, then he knows how to stop evil. And if God were really all good, that is, if there really were a God, he would stop evil. But yet we see evil, pain, and suffering in the world. Even now as we speak, children are starving. Wars, famine, tornadoes. Tornado hit Nashville, Tennessee not so long ago. And coronavirus. Let's take a brief break from our sponsor. No, we won't. But so, why does evil occur? Why does bad stuff happen to good people? For that matter, why does good stuff happen to bad people? Geez, it's hard to know which is more annoying. Let's take a look at the argument from the problem of evil. The problem of evil. If God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good, then there should be no evil, no pain and suffering in the world. But there is evil, pain, and suffering in the world. Therefore, there is no all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good God. Before we go any further, my son Ethan is going to show us how you can cut a cigarette. No, I mean you can cut a lemon with a cigarette lighter.
I need the actual. Don't show this.
Oh no, Ethan, they'll want to see. This was kind of stuff that happened in class all the time. I don't stay on topic. We've changed the subject.
Stop.
No, I know. It's off now. It's off now.
No, it's not.
No, just go ahead. It'll just be from a distance. He thinks he can peel a lemon with a cigarette and a lighter. And if he can do it, I promised I'd give him the rest of the pack, because I don't really smoke anyway.
There, see?
Oh my gosh. You did it by burning the cigarette?
So what you do is you take the end of the light it.
Careful, that Corona might be flammable, Ethan. I wouldn't light it too.
It's fine. So what you do is you take the end of the cigarette, right, and then you light it on
Yeah.
fire. Yeah. And then, so this stuff, I don't know what it is, but it like hardens.
Oh my gosh, it turns into like a blade.
Yeah, see?
How did you know that?
It's a bar trick.
A bar trick?
Mhm.
Like lawyers?
No.
Oh,
like
I
bar
have a
trick,
bar, like
at
a drinking bar.
like
Oh, yeah, that's good. Well, thank you, Ethan, for showing. Maybe God allows evil to occur because if we are going to be free to make our own choices, He has to let us choose between evil and good. Suppose God micromanaged our lives. You can't cheat on your boyfriend, girlfriend, because God would interfere. He would make your texts confuse each other so you could never hook up. An objection to the free will defense. If God is really all-powerful, He could have made us so that we have free will, but never think of choosing bad things like cheating and school shootings. We'd still have free will, but we would never choose awful things. Like the Care Bears, they never choose to have affairs or do school shootings. Oh, you're doing piano lessons?
Yeah, next time,
Yeah?
so I was asleep, right?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
And Lucy, came in my room and started, poking me and tickling me.
Oh,
To
goodness.
wake me up.
Did she seriously?
Yes, I'm
Oh
not
my
even-
gosh.
She took my phone and tried to unlock it with my face.
Well, I'll go talk to her about it, but she shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. To try to get you to come do piano. I know, I don't know. Well, anyway, have a good piano lesson.
Yeah.
Well, he said,
Problem of evil. Hey, Lucy. Ethan said that you were poking him and prodding him and with don't mind this. This is just the now. Wait a minute. No, but what is that true? Did you go in there and poke him and then he said you stuck him with a fork?
I didn't stick him with a fork.
Well, maybe I misheard that part. No. Well, Lucy, we're talking about the problem of evil. And here, I'm going to ask you, can you sit up for a second? Yeah. Okay, now, can you say, why do you think if God's all-powerful... No, now listen. If God's all-powerful, would it help if Winnie was in it? All-knowing and all-good, why do you think pain and suffering occurs in the world? Why does God let bad things happen, do you think?
Because sometimes they deserve it? Like they've done something very bad and it's just to teach them a lesson not to do it again?
Oh, that's interesting. Sometimes it can be like a punishment. What about the case where they don't deserve it, though? Oh, there's a doggy, Carissa. I'll get her on there, too. But what would you say about the case where they don't deserve it?
I don't know.
That's a good answer, Lucy. Good night.
Right, doing it.
Reverend Billy Graham spoke at the Oklahoma City bombing site. Timothy McVeigh, he blew up the Oklahoma Federal Building. This was before 9/11, of course. This was like, I think, in 93. Well, there was a daycare center on the bottom floor of that building. So all of those children were killed. And Billy Graham said the same thing that my daughter Lucy just said to you. He said, we just can't know why God allows pain and suffering in the world. See you next time. This is deep as Flux. Or should we call it the Corona Monologues? You know, that piano doesn't sound so bad. That kid's getting better, I think.
Has anyone ever given anything to you? Aside from misery and pain? Oh no, I know there was never anything between me and you. But nowadays even that has changed. Because the last time I saw you, you weren't so friendly. You told me jokes that were kind of mean. The last time I saw you weren't so cordial. The look you gave me was freaking obscene. And the wave you gave to me, yes, that wave you finally gave to me was a wave of expiration. A wave to say let sleeping dogs lie. A wave of expiration.